women, and they said that's not my business. And so that's why I said what cripples our economy is silence, and it's got to be mixed with hope. So being that I'm a published author of 3 books, I wasn't silent. Whatever took place in my life, whatever pain I went through, whatever tragedy, whatever trial, I journaled it and I wrote about it, not knowing at the time back in 2003 and the late 90s that this is what I'll be doing. But I kind of wrote myself, I wrote through my healing, and that's where the healing took place. So when you ask me about what's crippling our economy, it's silence and then it's hope. We got to give the people hope always. And through writing films and putting out great content, family-friendly films, there'll always be a message of hope that I'm actually giving, because we all need that. And you can never have enough of it. So that's what I think that cripples our economy.
That is so profound. I tell people all the time, if you're going through something, journal. Write it down. And when you're able to write it down, you're able to pull so much that's in you. And then you'll be able to go through that healing process. And so then you sometimes you tap into your gift that you may not even know you really had by writing. And then you'll be able to get creative ideas. And then, like it was mentioned earlier, it was talking about your intentions and putting your intentions down, that Nikol was talking about, being intentional. So even when you're writing about some of the experiences and the pains that you went through, write down your goals and your visions as well. But be very, very intentional and clear about what you want. And then if you revisit that, your vision, like the Bible talks about writing it upon tablets, it shall come to pass. But you have to be clear of exactly what you want. And then when God tells you to launch out, spiritually speaking, you have to launch out into the deep. And that's what all of you ladies have done. You have launched out into the deep. So as far as the crippling economic issues prevalent among people today, Nikol, give me your perspective on that as well.
For me, I think that, and it took me a minute to just really sit back and and think about it, because I taught GED for a number of years, and that experience was just that's a whole nother show. And so in a nutshell, to me, it's a lack of financial literacy. In school, we learn how to do a job. We learn how to act at a job, what skills we need to get a job, but we never really learn what to do with that money that we get from that job. And I think that, growing up, I grew up from an era where my parents and my grandparents, if you got you a good job, and my grandparents and both of my parents worked for oil and gas companies. My grandfather, he worked on the side of cleaning out the gas tanks in Port Arthur, Texas. My mom and dad were executives and working for Texaco, and they stayed at their jobs until they retired. So that's what the mindset was. You go to college, you get the skills you need to work at this job, you get in good, you move up, and you stay at this job. Well, they didn't know, no more than I know, did I know that it had changed, where you can no longer just depend on your job for your livelihood. Because the oil and gas, like the 80s, after that oil 80s boom and stuff, and people started, losing jobs and, all these different things. And then when I worked for the oil and gas, back in, I think it was 2008, there was another oil crisis, And so people just become just so, dependent on other people to find, for their means of money, that when something happens to that dependency, they're lost. They don't have any other skills. They don't have any, or don't want to go back to school, or doesn't, and don't have any investment. So I think it's financial literacy, and the main one is investing in yourself. And I'm not talking about Jordans or shoes or clothes. None. I mean making a real investment in yourself, and not even stocks, because we know they fall. But making an investment in yourself to be independent, whether you bake cakes, you clean houses, you make quilts, just something independent that if something ever happens, you still have a source of income and you're still okay. So for me, I think it's financial literacy that we, especially as Americans, we know how to spend it. but I don't know if most of us know what money really is and how to use it. And I think that's what cripples us.
That is quite deep. Because even in the African American consumers spend $1.1 trillion a year in consumerism.
Oh.
And we have to go and unlock those economic powerhouses. And what you shared about what is the key is to financial literacy. Even though we have so much information on the World Wide Web, people are really still not getting it. So I tell people, when you want to have that guidance as far as your financial situation to be able to propel you to the next level, get your financial coach, your expert, life coach, or whatever to give you that guidance so you'll be able to know how to diversify your portfolio. Because even starting some small businesses, you could even start a small business for under $100. And small businesses are the backbone of the American economy. But so many people feel stagnated because they're going through this economic morass in their life, going through these economic disparities and economic inequalities in their life, and they don't know what direction to go in. That's why in these days, we need multiple streams of income, and this is the purpose of us having shows like this, Millionaires in Training, because we want to emancipate the people's minds so they'll be able to come and be empowered financially, to give them these strategies that they need so it can help them catapult them to the next level. So what you ladies have shared is a bold and brilliant grand strategy of action that can be executed by anyone who's willing and able to develop a personal sense of integrity, economic intelligence, intense work ethics that will allow them to take the will of their lives and drive forward to their own best destiny. And just from hearing your stories, this is going to empower someone in the listening audience to be able to get their life in the direction that they want to go in. And so you all ladies are really transforming, inspiring, and educating the world by your stories and by your gifts. And we appreciate you sharing that with the listening audience. I believe that Candace Michelle can further elaborate on that as well.
Thank you, Tammy. You know, I've been listening to these brilliant women in film, Nikol Johnson, Joan Montreuil, Nicole Mars, a.k.a. K. Nicole. I have been so richly blessed by the discussion and what you guys are sharing. And can I just say this? You all are truly brilliant. You know, brilliant in mind, brilliant in thought, brilliant in spirit. There was so much to glean. It was so powerful to see the different and hear the different perspectives that you guys come from, and from your just sharing that transparency moment and even the transformative, right? And so thank you for that. Thank you for sharing these things with the listening audience. A few points before I ask the question. I mean, I just have to reiterate how much passion and how resiliency and consistency has brought you guys together for such a time as this, right? To say to the world, you know, we're no longer going to be silent in film. We're no longer going to be silent in life. We're no longer, I love that moment of not just hearing, but opening. You know, we see with our eyes, right? We hear, but when you don't act, right? If you think about what you guys are helping people do on film, there's this process, right, of production. There's this process of telling the story and the narrative. And I just have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I'm going to get to a question because I'm going to stop right now and ask the question. But I just had to say those things to you guys. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start with Nikol. Can you tell us, from the gifts that you've already shared with countless people, and there are so many people interested in breaking into the film industry, can you share with the listening audience what your perspective is on how they can even brand themselves in this type of business and even in this environment today?
You mean K. Nicole? Nicole Mars?
Yes. I'm sorry, K. Nicole, yes.
Okay. I can speak on myself because it has been very successful for me. And for me, branding my business is wearing it. I have 2 shirts. I wash them in cold water. I hang them to dry. I have special hangers for them. And so I wear my business shirt, or you'll see me in a BWIF shirt, you know, at events, and I'm always in them. I'm part of my branding. I also do a lot of photography work and video work for comedians in Houston. So I always have my shirt on. I'm always snapping pictures, you know, and putting them on social media. So I use my resources and what I have to brand myself. I hashtag my business. I hashtag BWIF. You know, even when I'm taking pictures of, I guess, celebrities, whether they be local or, you know, nationwide, and I tag that. So for me, just being out and being the visual, always showing, is, you know, how I brand myself. And I know that it works is because people always see me and, hey, you're everywhere. Hey, how you get here? Hey. So I know that's working. The other way I also brand myself is creating something unique. So, for instance, my business name, Merkaba. Most people are like, well, what is that? Well, it's actually biblical, you know, like from the Ezekiel wheel. But, you know, in essence, Mer means light, Ka means spirit, and Buzz, the body. So it's the light, spirit, and body, and that's what I represent when I script, whether it's my story or someone else's story. These stories that I usually tell, even though there may be a little fiction, there's a lot of truth in these stories. And that's what the people are doing, and that's what I want to do, because Merkaba is it is a source, you know. And so I do that with that name, and then the K Nikol. So quick story, my middle name is actually Nikol, Nicole, just regular and plain. But my grandmother, being from Louisiana, could never say Nicole. It was always Nikol, like Knee. So I was like, well, hey, how can I make myself different in the film industry than just being Anitra? Because a lot of people end up calling me Anita. So I said, well, Nikol, how can I spell that? So it became Knycole. So when I go out and I do events and I'm always doing something, you know, social, I introduce myself as that. Hi, I'm Nikol with a K and a Y. And people, well, how does that happen? I strike up a conversation. Oh, yeah, well, I'm in the film industry. I'm a script writer. Oh, you do? And then from there, I end up with a phone number, business card, something, because somebody knows somebody who needs something, whether it's a book, edited, a script. They have this wonderful idea. So for me, branding myself is always wearing, you know, clothing that advertise. My name, anytime I'm somewhere, I introduce myself as Nikol with the K and the Y and go through that whole spiel. And it's working because I have nonstop business.
I just love that, K Nikol. And, you know, I love it. Wear the brand. And it's really finding your niche, right? Finding that thing that makes you unique. So thank you for sharing that. So, Joan Montreuil, can you tell us what you feel about branding, how important you think it is, and what you would have as far as an offering for those who are trying to brand themselves in today's marketplace?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off K Nikol with as far as wearing your brand. Not only do you have to wear it, you have to know it. You have to know your brand, and then you have to protect your brand. So in one, to sum it up, a brand is almost like your vision. And the Bible states that without a vision, the people perish. So you have to have that. And you must have a clear vision, because the vision comes with instructions to sustain you through the slow seasons and the difficult times when you're feeling discouraged. That vision is that's all in one. And then you at least need, once you have the vision, you at least need one loyal person who can serve alongside you as a servant, not a partner, not a friend, but a servant with no strings attached, just there because God sent them to help you with the vision. And so when that vision comes to light, the visionary always has the plan. They know what to do before it's even said. They know where they're going. They know the outcome. They know the end results. But the thing about a visionary, they always fall short of loyal laborers. Let's look at Gail and Oprah. Gail served Oprah for